Your one-year food supply is an invitation, not a metaphor, a fact of operational geometry. A house with a year of stored food, defended by one person, visible to a street of 40 families who did not prepare, is not a fortress. It is the most precisely located concentration of resources in a 200-meter radius. And every person within that radius already knows it is there. The delivery trucks, the shelving you assembled in the garage with the door up, the generator test last September that hummed for 3 hours while every other house sat dark. The fence does not change this. The fence makes it worse. Because the higher the wall, the fewer eyes on the other side of it. Isolation is not safety. Isolation is blindness. We saw what the first 72 hours look like when people come together. 8 people, 1 house, decisions that define months. But here is the part we did not address, the paradox that sits underneath everything. The supplies that made individual preparation possible are the same supplies that make individual defense impossible. The more you stored, the larger the signal. The longer you can sustain yourself, the more valuable you become to those who cannot. And a single locked door between a year of food and a street full of hunger is not a defensive position. It is a countdown. The evidence is not theoretical. In Post-Katrina New Orleans, individual households with known supplies that refused coordination with their block were among the first to lose everything, not to organized crime, but to desperate neighbors acting in clusters of 3 and 4. In Argentina during the 2001 collapse, the barrios that held were the ones where supplies were distributed across households before the banks closed. Each family held a piece, water purification in one house, medical supplies in another, bulk food in a third. No single address held enough to be worth raiding. Every address held enough to matter to the network. In Venezuela, the apartment buildings that organized floor by floor survived years of rolling shortages. The apartments with individual stockpiles behind reinforced doors lasted weeks. The pattern is identical across every documented crisis. Concentration invites predation. Distribution creates interdependence. And interdependence is the only defensive architecture that scales. Now comes the part that requires a shift in thinking. The instinct, the one every survival channel reinforces, the one that feels correct, is to accumulate. More cans, more buckets, more months of runway. And that instinct is not wrong in isolation. It is incomplete. Because accumulation without distribution is a warehouse problem, not a survival strategy. A warehouse needs guards. Guards need shifts. Shifts need trust. Trust needs structure. And structure needs people who have a reason to protect what is inside, because part of it is theirs. This is where the reframe happens. The year of food in the garage is not a liability. It is a foundation, but only if it stops being yours and starts being the circle's. That shift changes the operational math entirely. One house with 12 months of food and 1 defender has a defensive window of roughly 10 to 14 days before fatigue, sleep deprivation, and the compound pressure of visible abundance against surrounding scarcity collapse the position. 8 houses, each holding 6 to 8 weeks of supplies, with a rotation of watch, a shared inventory managed by a designated person, and clear rules about rationing. That structure does not have a defensive window. It has a sustainable system.
The key here is the rotation. We take the
Total stored food may be less than what one person accumulated alone. The total defensive capacity is not comparable. And this is where the conversation about supplies becomes a conversation about people. Every bucket of rice, every case of water, every medical kit is a question waiting to be asked. Who manages it? Who distributes it? Who decides when it moves and under what rules? Without answers, the supply is static. Wait on a shelf. With answers, with names assigned to roles and rules written before the crisis, the supply becomes infrastructure. It serves the circle instead of painting a target on one household. We covered the ceiling of one person. We walked through the first 72 hours of organizing 8. Today we confronted the thing that sits between those two realities, the supplies that every prepared person already has, and the question of whether those supplies protect or expose. Tomorrow we start building the structure that turns a collection of people into something that holds. The first question is the smallest and the heaviest. Who in your circle is responsible for water? Not everyone, not whoever is around. One name, because a circle without names on the rolls is not a circle. It is a crowd standing near supplies. A man survives, a circle holds.